Good morning from beautiful Bangkok, Thailand. And in today's video, I'm going to be answering one of the most common questions I get asked, and that is why I moved to Thailand. So we have to go back to 2012. I came here on vacation with my girlfriend. We actually went to Hong Kong first for a week and then came here to Thailand for a week as well. And I instantly fell in love with the culture, the people, and the food. I mean, to me, culture of Buddhism and just the whole thoughts behind it was always such an interesting thing. I've always firmly believed in karma and doing the right thing and that things really do come back to you. So I found that very fascinating as I got to learn more about it while I was here. And no, I don't pretend to know a lot about it, but it was one of the factors that I found very interesting. And definitely the people, some of the friendliest people I've ever met. You know, I've traveled to over 20 countries and hands down here, Thailand, some of the friendliest people I've met anywhere in the world. And of course, we can't talk about Thailand without talking about the food. I love Thai food. Having lived in California for 40 years, I had been eating Thai, Cambodian, Korean, Vietnamese, a lot of different Asian food. So I'm very much used to it, and I absolutely love this kind of cuisine. You know, this was a really great trip, and I just fell in love with it. My girlfriend really hated it because it was too hot and etc. She's no longer my girlfriend, so solved that problem. But jokes aside, the heat was really hard, especially, as I said, having lived in California, a very dry climate. It was brutal, and even after 4 months now, I'm still acclimating to it a little bit. But when I came back, it just left such an impression in my mind. And my mom always said that, you know, Serg, when you talked about your trip to Thailand, it was one of the happiest I've ever seen you when you would reminisce about it and show pictures. And I kept thinking about that over the years, about how much I really enjoyed coming here, all the great things. I just fell in love with this whole country. So we spent about a week here and we did all the touristy things. Went to the train market, went to the food markets, went to all the temples, obviously went on some of the long-tail river boats around here in Bangkok, and went outside also to some other places. One of the crucial mistakes I actually made was that we didn't go to any of the beach towns or any of the islands, so I was kind of kicking myself for that. But it was just such an amazing experience for me. I loved it so much here, even though I was just sweating like mad. I mean, having lived in California for 40 years, I definitely was not used to the weather, and it was really, really hard for me. But the whole feeling here, it just felt like home. It's really hard to explain that feeling, but the moment I arrived here the first time, I just fell in love with it. And that's it. Kept thinking about it a little bit, but never really gave it a lot of thought until we fast forward 8 years to 2020 and the pandemic hits. So now in March 2020, the pandemic hits the US. I'm living in California in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had been thinking for quite some time that it was probably time for me to move somewhere else. I'd lived in California for 40 years and, well, without getting into it, let's just say I wasn't really excited with the way things were going in what was once the Golden State. So I started thinking about places that maybe I could move. It has been something in the back of my mind, but you know, I had a really good life in California. I had retired from law enforcement. I had my own business that was very successful. I had a vintage toy business, and that was going great. I wasn't working a lot. I had a lot of free time. I had a nice house, had nice cars, but you know, I didn't care about that stuff anymore. I wanted something different. And then one night when I was watching YouTube and I saw something that would become the catalyst for me making this move to Thailand. And what that event was me watching Chad CB Media. I saw his videos here in Thailand with him doing automotive content, and it instantly reminded me how much I love Thailand, how much I love automotive stuff, and I decided right there and there on that day that I was going to move to Thailand and start making YouTube videos. So that was really the inspiration for me to come here. If it wasn't for Chad from CB Media, I'd still be back in America and you wouldn't be here watching me. I know that's a good thing or a bad thing. It depends how you feel about my videos. If you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, etc. And as in my other videos, I'm getting lost. I got on the boat in the wrong direction and I have no idea where I'm going. But that's half the fun of living here in Thailand, is just getting lost. All right, got off the boat. I have no idea where I am. Oh, we're at the Ital Thai Pier. Still have no idea where we are, but we can walk around here and we can talk some more. And honestly, I'll never forget that night. I was just sitting there at home watching YouTube and I saw those videos and it just made me remember, I love Thailand. Let's sell the house. Let's sell the cars. Let's sell everything I own and go to Thailand. And then I decided just to go ahead and do that. I mean, I was about to turn 50. You know, the whole pandemic made me rethink of what was going on with my life and just in the world in general. And I started to think about what was really important. And like I said before, I decided it wasn't having material possessions and this big house that I lived in by myself and all this other junk. So I decided, let's travel here. Let's travel to Thailand. I want to live here. I'd started making YouTube videos a few years past and just made some sporadically here and there. But I thought that if I come here and I travel through the country and other parts of Southeast Asia and more parts of the world, it would just give me a whole new life viewpoint, which would be really great. So I decided to, like I said, put my house up for sale shortly thereafter and got the ball rolling. I also know that I'm not the only one that during the pandemic had decided to change their life for the better. A lot of things were going on. People were losing their livelihood. Some people just decided it was time for a change in their life. And yeah, never underestimate noise when you're recording videos. That's just part of the game. Anyhow, as I was saying, a lot of people are starting to rethink what was important in their lives. I know a lot of friends of mine and some other folks just really started reorganizing their lives, what was important, what they really wanted to do. And for a lot of them, the whole idea of consumerism and just stuff was starting to fade. And that was one of the things for me. I mean, I've always liked things. I've liked nice cars, I've liked good food, all that stuff. But a lot of these material possessions were just losing their lure to me. And I just decided that seeing the world and traveling was better. I've said this before, I'll say it again. None of us get to the end of our life wishing that we had worked more. The things that we don't do, we generally regret more than the things that we do. So I always say just go for it and just go do the things you want in life. Do them today. It's never too late. I mean, you know, I was 50 years old when I made this decision. And a lot of people are like, well, you should have done it when you were younger. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to do it now because this is the right time. The right time to start anything is now. It's not tomorrow or the day after. It doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are, what you can or cannot do. Just don't listen to people who are going to steal your dreams and get in your way. Those people, they just don't add anything to your life. They just want to bring you down instead of help you come up. So make sure you pick your friends wisely. And I got to be perfectly honest, one of the other reasons that I decided to move to Thailand from the US was that I was just getting tired of the political rhetoric, you know, coming from both sides, but especially from one particular side and the current administration. It was just becoming very divisive, you know, inducing violence and fear in people. And the media was not helping at all. The mainstream media is just spreading absolute lies and, you know, partisan propaganda. I mean, one side or the other. I couldn't trust them anymore, whether it was the left or the right. Also, as a former policeman, it was really hard for me to watch all of this looting that was going on. Stores were being looted by mobs of people. Nobody's doing anything. Complete lawlessness. And basically, you're encouraging that kind of behavior. So I just decided it's time to leave. And I didn't leave the US permanently. I mean, I'm living here for years to come, maybe the rest of my life. Really hard to say, unless I get run over. But I still love America. I'm an American citizen. I've lived there since I was 9 years old, having moved from Russia in 1980. And it's just that there's been a lot of changes there. You know, there's a lot of this political correctness, this whole cancel culture in the West. That is something I never, ever see here in Thailand. People are extremely tolerant. And I know there's other problems here going on. I'm well aware of that. No place is perfect. But I find that here, people just kind of let everyone live and do their own thing. So it makes it really simple when you're in a place where you feel welcome and you know, people trying to give you a taxi ride because you're walking, and it's funny, a lot of them see a foreigner walking, they think we need a taxi. We can walk. Anyways, it's just coming to a place like this, it's really great because you don't have to deal with a lot of that rhetoric. You don't have to deal with that negativity, and it's just a much slower, calmer pace of life. Things are just, I don't know, it's hard to explain to you. I just feel so much more at peace here, not constantly being bombarded by negative news and all this negativity that was going on in the West. And it looks like I'm lost again. I have no idea where I am. I know I'm somewhere in Bangkok, but yeah, lost. Anyhow, let's get back to the reason why I moved to Thailand. So I put the house up for sale about 5-6 months later. It took me a while to get everything ready. Sold the house, sold my cars, and then I decided I was going to go to Texas and live in Austin for a little bit because I'd been there many times before. I've got some friends there. So I packed up my truck and embarked on a 6-day journey driving to Texas from California. Well guys, this is it. The house is empty and I'm driving out tomorrow morning. So on to the new chapter in life. I'm so excited, and I'm taking all of you with me, and it should be a lot of fun. Let's see what happens. I didn't make any plans, I didn't make any reservations. I just drove until I found a town I liked and stopped there for the night, which was totally different than what I'm used to doing because I like to plan everything. So that was a real challenge for me. My plan was to only stay in Texas for about 4 or 5 months, but then this was middle of 2021, and as you all know, the pandemic got worse, especially here in South Asia. So I decided to put it off. So I ended up spending almost a year in Austin, really enjoyed it there, and then it was finally time for me to come over here to Thailand. So then in April of 2022, boarded a plane in Austin, landed here, and it's been 4 months, and I'm absolutely loving it. You know, this has been such a great experience for me. I don't have any ties in the US other than family, which of course is important, and friends, but I don't have any possessions there. Everything I have is here with me, just a couple suitcases. I sold everything else. There's just no need for me to keep anything back there. And, you know, of course I miss my friends, I miss my family. There's a number of things I miss, but I think I have such a better quality of life here in Thailand. And it's not just because it's cheaper. A lot of people think that moving here for cost savings is the way to go, but I don't think that's the main reason you should move here. Yes, it's cheaper than if you're living in a Western country, but you have to like the culture, you have to like the people, you have to like the food. If you move here just to save money and you're not interested in the culture, you're gonna hate it. You need to really enjoy the things in Thailand to be here, or any country. You know, moving there just for any other reason other than, you know, if you're just gonna move there just to save money, I think you're going to be miserable. And that's pretty much the reasons why I moved here to Thailand. Now I live here full time. I've got friends here. I've met lots of people, I've gone on dates. I've got to travel around. I've got a lot more travel to do. I'm going to be going to a bunch of different other countries as well. And I'm just super excited for my life and what's going forward. So hopefully this gives you an insight into why I moved here to Thailand, why I live here now. And if you guys enjoy this video, check out these other videos that I've put up. And as always, don't forget to take care of yourselves, guys. Bye.